Hello and welcome to the Fish Out of Water podcast. You're here with me, Matheaus, and Isaac. And today we're going to break down a lot of different topics, starting with the NFC, AFC championship games that were amazing. I'm sure we all watched it. And towards the end of the segment, we're going to get into some of the basic NFL news, such as Brady's retirement, the coaching hires, and of course, we got the Washington Commanders making their way to the stage now. How do you feel about that name?
Man, honestly, it's pretty clean.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I think it's overhated. It fits the colors. It fits the city.
Yeah, I think it's just fine, honestly.
Yeah.
Man, what a crazy weekend. Coaching hires, the games. Let's go into the games.
All right, let's do it. Starting off with the AFC, we got Chiefs Bengals. So how'd you feel about that?
I remember last week we were talking about how there's virtually no chance for the Bengals to win.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I said blowout. But in my defense, it looked like a blowout. 21-3.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a great team, but to me, that was more Patrick Mahomes choking than anything,
Yeah, he does that. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but Mahomes is when you can get him out of his comfort zone and get a little bit of generated pressure, the hero ball sometimes doesn't work out. I saw a different Patrick Mahomes. I remember seeing that against Tampa in the Super Bowl. We didn't have his O-line in the second half. The first time Mahomes played Brady when he was on the Patriots and they got bounced in the AFC Championship. Again, Mahomes is a great quarterback. He's getting better. He's been to AFC Championship every year of his career outside of his first year. But he does get flustered sometimes. It is totally okay. But just had to acknowledge that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that he's a top 3 quarterback in the league, top 2 maybe. But, man, like, there are some serious issues that's going on here, The Bengals really – I thought it was interesting because – they only sent 3. And they put everyone else in coverage. And when that happens, you got to have a good run game, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're just so fixated on these hero ball, throwing down the field stuff. But at times you got to really establish the underneath stuff too, and be more patient. And when you have like the offensive line that you have with, Joe Thuney, Orlando Brown, I mean, you got to run the ball, and you have an advantage, especially because you have Tyreek Hill, Kelsey down the field. I think, if you get the ball to
an 11-point lead.
Yeah, and when linebackers, corners are all obsessed with your 2 top receivers. Just run the damn ball, bro. Like, CEH is going to be facing like a 1 linebacker, and you never know, I think that was the best way to get chunk plays, running the ball.
He's pretty slow, but keep going.
He's slow, but
he's not bad. He's confident.
Any of the running backs, man, like they had 1 linebacker to beat at most, and I think that was the way to beat the Bengals. And for some reason, Andy Reid, I questioned Andy Reid's play calling this game too. But damn, what a blunder by the Chiefs. Like, I was more disappointed in them than impressed by the Bengals.
Definitely. I've said that about every Bengals game this playoffs, and I keep saying it. I was more disappointed in than the Titans and Tannehill's 3 picks, and I was impressed with the Bengals. And it goes back. Was it the Raiders at the first round? It was the same thing there. But yeah, when I agree with you, I looked at this game and they just threw the ball too much in the second half. But again, it is the Chiefs' identity, and I will acknowledge that. But for me, I think we underrate the Bengals defense way too much. So I took a look at their roster, and what I kind of realized is when you're a team and you're this bad for this long, you have a lot of 2nd and 3rd round picks. They don't have any stars, but they have high 2nd, 3rd round picks all around the defense. And these guys are extremely competent. Like, their secondary is really solid. I think they got Eli Apple, who he's not bad. who's their other corner? Oh, they have Jesse Bates at safety, Trey Flowers. Their pass rush is wildly underrated. And I'm looking at these last games, and these teams aren't scoring over 24 points, 20 points. The defense is playing tough, and I have to give them their credit. And to Burrow's credit, Burrow's not making mistakes, with the exception of that one pick, which I thought was his only bad throw of the game, on the left seam when he tried to force it to Jamar. But yeah, other than that, I think the play calling was interesting. They had an inefficiency to run the ball. And like I said, Mahomes really got out of rhythm. I remember in the overtime, I didn't even know who he was, but Mahomes threw 2 consecutive balls to his like 4th string receiver, which was just weird that Tyreek and Kelsey weren't even in the play at the time. So I agree with you. I do think this falls more on I guess the Chiefs' inefficiency to run the ball and make good plays. Anyways, what do you think was the main downfall or the main reason the game ended the way it did?
Dude, yeah, I mean, not being patient. I kind of mentioned before, like, I thought Andy Reid's play calling was very questionable. You know, his RPO stuff, you know, that's how Mahomes threw the pick. I just thought that was ridiculously dumb. Just run the ball sometimes, you know. And even Mahomes, like, I'm just because Andy Reid had a tough play calling week, I don't think Mahomes off the hook either. I mean, he was awful. You know, I just, you know, he had 10 seconds in the pocket because they were only sending 3, you know. And when you have that kind of time, you got to be able to make a play, scramble out, get 7 yards yourself. You know, you're Patrick Mahomes.
I'm all for like this slander, but also the Bills were the #1 ranked defense, and they could not stop Mahomes for their life. Given, I think they're a fraud #1 defense, but this Bengals defense, I haven't heard anyone in the media give him credit. Like, I think we got to start acknowledging them. Rushing 3, and Mahomes still can't find a place to go. They're covering every inch of the field so well that I guess the most transcendent current thrower of the football for a lot of people couldn't find like one receiver or make one play. It's interesting. I just think the Bengals defense is really something special, and they're hungry. They got nothing to lose, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. And, you know, walking into SoFi next week, I don't think they're feeling any pressure. I think all the pressure, if anything, is on the Rams. But
oh yeah, for sure. I think what's really interesting is how they sort of carry themselves, especially Joe Burrow. That guy's different.
He's the leader of the team, and he's got that swag.
He never views himself as an underdog, you know, and that takes a lot of mental strength and confidence. And I think that's just, you know, football isn't just talent, you know, it's emotion, it's tactics, it's your preparedness, you know. And I think Joe just really exemplifies like what a winner is, you know.
Definitely. I love Joe Burrow and all, but his play hasn't been that good. I mean, I think he's got 4 touchdowns, 2 picks over the last 3 playoff games.
Yeah, like, he's been solid. That's what I'm saying. I think most of, like, I don't want to take any credit away from the Bengals. The defense, like you've been saying, has been very exceptional. Hendrickson was injured and he's been pretty good, you know. You know, you got to make big plays, and the defense and offense of the Bengals were able to do so. But yeah, it was pretty clear like who the better team was on their best day between the Chiefs and Bengals, you know?
Yeah. I think the Bengals are by far the best team. Or I'm sorry, the Chiefs are by far the best team.
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, next year the season starts, I don't think the Bengals are top 7 in Super Bowl betting odds. Like, I don't think Vegas believes in them. Like, it really feels like a Cinderella story, and I'm for it. I love it.
Yeah, it really, I don't know, for me next year, for them. Before we talk about next year, we should talk about this year. But yeah, I am a little I question them a little bit, you know, because they're very big play dependent as well. And you can argue the same thing for the Chiefs, but I like Burrow's great, but I don't think he's Mahomes,
I think Burrow is going to be at the top of his generation, though, when we get there. The thing about him is he's polished. And we talked about this before, but he took 4 years out of LSU and he redshirted, which means he came out of college ready to play. So he's a second year, but he's an old second year. And
That's true.
Now that Brady is gone, we have the end of that generation. The Peyton, Brady, Rodgers, all of those, Drew Brees, those pocket passers, Phillip Rivers, if you want to put him in there. Those guys are all gone now. And it feels like we have this new era, Lamar, Kyler, Mahomes, Josh Allen. And all of a sudden you throw in two guys, Herbert and Burrow, who I think are like almost the second coming of Peyton and Brady, tall pocket passers. Well, Burrow's not as tall, who go through the progressions fast, and they don't necessarily try to play hero ball.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a really interesting dynamic heading forward. But
I
think Burrow's going to be great. I don't know if his ceiling's as high as the other guys, but we said that about Brady, and look at him now. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, no doubt. At the end of the day, it's about throwing the ball and reading your progressions, your options, and Burrow is exceptional. Especially considering his O-line not giving him enough time. So
I think it's going to be a problem in the next game. But before we get there, we can move on to the NFC. So the NFC, we had Rams, Niners. I'll let you start it off since you're a Rams fan. You can celebrate.
That was incredible. I think it's clear that the Rams struggle with the 49ers because of how the way the teams play. Rams try to beat you with more finesse and speed. 49ers just want to bully you, and the Rams D line, it's amazing, but it is undersized. That's why you can occasionally get away with running on them because of how, if your O line is big and tough like the 49ers is, I think you have a chance at really bullying them. And that's why the 49ers are able to, kill us for the past 3 years, because of our defensive design being a mismatch. Like, what I mean by that is the way the Rams play defense, they typically go 2 safeties deep. So they prioritize taking away the deep ball, and they let this underneath stuff happen. But the thing with that is the 49ers want to do that. They want to run the ball constantly, give the ball to Debo for like 13 yards, 7 yards, George Kittle for 13 yards, Elijah Mitchell here, take the ball 4 yards, that's what they're good at. And yeah, I just think it was just a mismatch. Even during most of the game, you could tell like they're struggling to beat this team, What I thought was interesting was the Rams completely switched their scheme. Usually they go 2 safety deep. For this game, they sold out on the run. They only had the 49ers only had 50 yards. The Rams said, look, you're not beating us with this run game. You have to throw Jimmy G. And what was surprising was sometimes Jimmy G did make a pretty tough throw. And he played well, considering, the run game was basically gone. We sold out on the run. We just let these corners go one-on-one, And, at times Jimmy G did play well. And I think that was a big reason why they were in the lead for a bit. And also, if we could talk about the other side, I think the pass rush was crazy. I think the 49ers Rams pass rush is by far the best in the NFL right now. Right now, like Tampa Bay, I think they are slightly overrated. Their pass rush.
They blitz a lot. If you look at these other teams who rush 4, maybe the same effectiveness, but Tampa uses 5 to 6. So
that's my thing. I think Niners just have a consistent group of 4 that just keep getting at the quarterback, and even our offensive line isn't necessarily built for the physicality of other people, of the other teams, and that's how they beat you. And Matt Stafford was under a lot of pressure, but wow, I think another part of it was how good the receivers were. Like, Cooper Kupp, we know how good Cooper Kupp is. One of the best route runners in the league, kind of do it all. OBJ, what a great downfield threat. Contested
what a great
catch.
addition.
He's just
I'm so happy for him.
Oh yeah, no, he's being used correctly. I think without OBJ, I don't think the Rams would be where they are.
No chance. Not without Robert Woods, at least.
Exactly. Now on top of that, Tyler Higbee, your number one tight end by far, gets hurt.
Although your other tight end, yeah,
he came to show. He came up. He had like 50 yards. He had some crucial plays.
Plays, couple third downs.
Yeah, it took everyone, and I think everyone really bought into this game, selling out on the run. And what was tough is the Rams couldn't run the ball either, and they had to rely on Matt Stafford. And the thing is, like, you don't want to throw the ball like 50 times to win a game, but that's what ended up happening. I think he threw like 45 times, and the Rams won because of their star players showing up. Even at the end of the game, when Jimmy G, there was like a minute left, Jimmy G had a chance to take the 49ers on the field and score a field goal, and the Rams stars showed up. The interception was because of Aaron Donald and Von Miller getting to him finally. And great play by our backup linebacker, Traven Howard, I think, just knowing where the ball is, intercepting that thing. Yeah, what a great game. What a comeback. With a little luck too, because Stafford almost threw like one of the dumbest interceptions that I've ever seen. But thankfully Tart dropped that thing. But
yeah, wow. You need a play or two, though. I mean, every great's had a play or two.
Right. Yeah.
Mostly Eli Manning, but he's not a great. But then you got the Edelman catch. That's a good one against the
Eli Manning, bro. So overrated. But anyways, good.
Whoa. Anyways, yeah, so this game I could go on and on for. I think it's so interesting. So you hit it right on the head. What the Niners do best under the greatest coach in the league currently, Kyle Shanahan, is they run the ball, and that's tough for the Rams.
Right.
But what the Rams do best is they can rush the passer like I haven't seen since 2015.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I remember Jimmy G was playing a great game. Everything was perfect. But the Niners have to play with a lead. They have to hold the Rams off. And once they lost that lead, there was 2 minutes left. Jimmy got the ball, no timeouts. I looked around, I said, the game's over. Because now the Rams can do what the Rams do, which is hunt QBs. And right. Jimmy G is not going to survive that. First play, I think it was a batted ball. Then you had incompletion, another incompletion. 4th and 10, Jimmy scrambling for his life and throws that pick. Like,
yeah,
the entire time, Vaughn, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, they
finally got to him.
Because you can't step back in the pocket against this team. Like, they will tear you to pieces. And the
thing is, like, I thought, when Jimmy G had to throw like 3rd and 7, I thought the pass protection from the Niners was pretty solid, for the most part. D-line couldn't really get to it,
I would say that you guys were a little out of rhythm because of the scheme overall, but when you get to the end of the game, know the scheme. So you're bringing 4 and you're getting home. And wow, I just knew it was going to happen when I was watching it unfold. I was thinking to myself, this pass rush is all-time greatness. I don't know if it'll get the credit, but it is all-time greatness. And you know what? The Rams' best signing was Von Miller, because every single game he's come up huge. I don't think you win any of these games without Von Miller. Like,
no,
I know I'm biased, but he's been phenomenal. And I think to that,
100% agree.
Who was the first week? Tampa too, but the week before Tampa.
Oh, Arizona. I remember watching Kyler get his first incompletion and that receiver getting hit so hard. He dropped the ball and left the game for a couple plays. Like, that defense was tenacious. And oh yeah. I think
so that's where I put the credit, but I'm also going to put a lot of, I think the Niners did what we thought the Niners would do. Jimmy G is very underrated, and actually not underrated. Jimmy G is very overhated. He does what he does. There's a reason he's been to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship in 3 years. He's a good player. but we have to look at where I give most credit is Stafford. So the defense and Stafford, because Stafford's been in Detroit all these years, and he finally got his moment. And every game he's come up big. I questioned if he could. I thought Stafford would make a dumb play that would cost them, but you know what? Stafford's been phenomenal. He did catch a break, but I think this is big for him. He's finally getting his moment, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's so interesting because, you know, you get these like older stars and, you know, they've had like a negative narrative to them for, you know, most of their career.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly Stafford. And just to see them, I mean, like, you know, I'm a Rams fan, so obviously I'm happy, but just like as an objective NFL fan, like, how can you not be happy for Stafford? You know, finally getting out of Detroit after dealing with
he's prepared
Detroit for 13 years, 12 years, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, I forgot who said this, but some people were saying like Detroit prepared him because he had nothing. And it just helped him get tough, you know, and look where he is now, you know. I think the Rams were able to punch back, you know, because like most of the, like for the past 3 years against the Niners, the Rams just couldn't handle the physicality. And, you know, this game called them to be a different team, you know, a team that isn't, fly all over the place on defense and, you know, get to the passer, you know, it's sell on the run and get dirty, you know. And on offense too, there's no play action, no scheme. It was all just drop back, shotgun, just go make a play. OBJ, Cooper Kupp.
Still not a fan of that scheme, but go ahead.
Wait, what?
I'm still not a fan. I wish the Rams would run the ball a little more because you can. Yeah. And McVay's great at it. But
they kind of had to because they couldn't run the ball. You know, I think especially when they were down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, obviously.
They just started throwing the ball. And, you know, when you throw the ball more, it can lead to more mistakes, whether it be fumble, sack, interception. But the Rams didn't make a mistake. And, you know, that took a lot of focus and willpower to do so. And I commend them for that, you know.
Absolutely. I'm happy for Stafford. This was his moment. And I do think the Rams will win the Super Bowl. We'll get to that in a second. But I think the play that will end up highlighting this whole playoff run will always be that Cooper Kupp throw because they had no momentum. The Rams were in the mud. The GOAT was goating at home, and he walked up there. He could have took a knee and just went, all right, let's go to overtime. He launched a 50-yarder to Cooper Kupp to win the game. So, I mean, I'm all for it. Good for you, Stafford. I think you'll get a chip out of this. But anyways, we can move on to our predictions. So we got Bengals, Rams. I don't think anyone thought we'd be here. I did pick the Rams. Disclaimer, I did pick the Rams, but
yeah, Bengals, Rams. What an interesting matchup. I mean, most people had like Packers, Chiefs, you know, or Bucks, Chiefs, Bucks, Bills.
I'll never pick the Chiefs. I'm sorry.
But it's Bengals, Rams. What a crazy playoffs this is, you know. I mean, I think we could agree this is one of the best playoffs ever, you know.
Oh, absolutely. The ratings are the highest they've ever been. Although I heard for the last 5 years they've been increasing, but definitely every game except one has been decided by a walk-off score, which is just incredible to me. So.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's been close outside the wild card round, you know. Honestly, like I'm happy the wild card round ended the way it did because of how good the teams were in the divisional round and how good the games turned out to be. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So who you got? Oh, come on, Rams fan. What is this?
No, it's just. Yeah. See, if you make mistakes, the Bengals will get you. But I'm going to take the Rams. I think the main thing is the Rams defense is a terrible matchup for the Bengals because I think on offense, the Bengals are big play dependent, you know. They're not really good at methodically moving down the field. They rely on Jamar Chase 80-yard touchdowns, you know. Even last week against the Chiefs, they relied on a running back to score a 40-yard touchdown, you know. The Rams are built for that. They have two safeties deep. They want you to do underneath stuff. and that leads to more mistakes. And Joe Burrow is great, but at the end of the day, he is a second-year quarterback, and he's going to make a mistake or two. He's thrown an interception, I think, in every single playoff game so far. He's going to make a mistake. And I think on top of, the more you drop back and throw the ball, I think that Rams D-line is going to get you. And like that Bengals O-line is just like it's like paper trying to stop knives. I think there's a possibility that Joe Burrow gets sacked like 5 times.
I'd go higher than that. He got sacked 9 times against the Titans.
Yeah.
I think we might be looking at like a Cam Newton 2015 thing where he got hit 20 something times. Like,
yeah, maybe. It's just a mismatch, and I understand mismatch doesn't necessarily mean, the team's going to win. Like last week, we saw the 49ers had an advantage in terms of matchup, but I think in this case, like the Rams top end talent will pull through. And at the end of the day, I think the top end talent is still better than the Bengals, outside of maybe like Jamar Chase, but
he's a rookie though.
Exactly. I don't think McVay's going to screw it up. He had some questionable play calling last time in the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, but yeah, I think the Rams will win by a touchdown. So I'll go 28-21 Rams.
28. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I think this is going to be a blowout again, but I got to be careful because I said that every single game against the Bengals and they keep proving me wrong. So there's something about them that they got like this it factor, but you hit it on the head. Burrow's going to have to drop back 30 something times to win this game. And that O-line is not holding Aaron Donald or Von Miller. Like, I'm not surprised if we're going to get our 3rd defensive MVP of all time. I wouldn't be surprised by one of those.
Yeah. No.
Hoping it's Vaughn because I'm biased, but and I look at the Bengals and what they have, and I'm like, well, your best weapon is Jamar Chase, who's phenomenal, but has he ever played a corner like Ramsey? Like, he is a rookie,
Right.
There's some growing pains, and I think for this team to get here, they need to be proud of.
Not like he played any elite corner.
Exactly. This is going to be different for him. Ramsey's got 2 weeks, and he's got one picture he's looking at before he sleeps, but. Right. I think it's a great story. I'm happy for the Bengals, and I'm really rooting for them, but I think it's ugly. It feels like it's the Rams' time. Stafford he's coming alive. I just feel OBJ, it's his time. Vaughn hasn't had one in a while. Aaron Donald deserves it more than anyone. It just feels right. I'm going to say the Rams win this one handily. I'm going to say 27-17. I think Burrow gets beat up pretty bad, but I think both teams walk away proud of their seasons.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's the Rams' year, so I'll say 27-17.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking that too, but I think what's going to happen is I do think the Bengals are going to have like a 80-yard touchdown or something crazy like that.
I think
they're always due for like a big play,
I think so too. Maybe Mixon just breaks free. He doesn't really do that though, but you never know.
Yeah.
He's not a big score guy.
No. But yeah, it for the Bengals to win, I think they really do need to have a good run game. The way to beat the Rams defense is having a good run game, but run game is 80% offensive line, and you're telling me that thing can do anything offensive line, so it's just tough. I do think Joe Burrow is going to have a rough day in terms of, I don't know how he'll do. I mean, I'm sure he'll do fine, but in terms of like getting hit and stuff,
he'll throw for 220 and a touchdown. That's what he's done the whole year. Maybe.
Yeah. And it's up to Stafford and the offense to me. Like, the Chiefs are clearly the better team in my opinion, but Mahomes and Andy Reid really like messed that one up there. So just not making mistakes, and we do have to respect the Bengals defense. I do think it's not like something to take lightly, but I do think it's beatable. I don't see any significant mismatch on that field. What I think is interesting is they play the Rams style of defense. They go two safeties deep and they stop the big play, but I think the Rams are more suited for that than the Bengals are.
I think the Bengals will change it against the Rams, though. I just think they did the shell coverage just for the Chiefs. Kind of have to.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm with you. I think it's the Rams' time. I do think there's one little way the Bengals win, which is how they have this whole time, which is the defense gets Stafford out of rhythm. That's the only way I can see, because this defense has a weird poise for, creating turnovers. They play hard too. So there's the only way I see them winning this game is at some point or another, they force a couple turnovers. Stafford is getting a little flustered, and then Burrow's able to almost game manage it back, which is what they've done the whole year. So I will say that it's possible, but then people are really going to have to sleep on this Bengals defense, because that would be an all-time great performance, because this Rams offense is no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so I think that's our football predictions. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I love these playoffs. Obviously, I love it more because of this guy right here and the Rams making it at SoFi Stadium, which is really cool. But every Sunday, or every weekend, it's been just phenomenal football. I don't think there's been a better playoffs in a long time.
It's phenomenal.
And it shows that through Bengals Rams, no one would have expected this. I thought, I think it's going to be it's been a great year of football,
It has.
And let's talk more. Let's talk about the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Yeah.
I think it's time, man. I can just say that this one is really sad for me. I think it's sad for our generation, because a lot of people didn't like Brady because he won so much, and that really says something. But this guy was winning Super Bowls since we were born, and we're first-year college students. And, our generation, we grew up watching this guy just win Super Bowls over and over and over again. And one thing's for sure is he had that winning intangible that I've never seen before. Because there's something, you look at Peyton and you go, oh, his IQ. You look at Mahomes, you're like, oh, his physical ability. But you look at this guy and nothing stands out to you. He doesn't throw the prettiest ball, but he just won his games. And I think it shows that how important it is to be prepared, to have relationships with your players. And, he's the GOAT, undisputed. I think he's the greatest athlete in American sports. I'm not going to say he's better than Messi, because I don't think that's fair. But in American sports, I think he's the greatest athlete of all time.
Oh, yeah, I do agree with that too.
And I'm really sad the way he went out. I really wish Giselle would just be like, play one more year, have a farewell tour. But I don't think that's who he is. I think there's a lot of players who don't want that. I know there's a lot of players who do, like LeBron, of course. But,
bro,
I mean, I respect his decision to go out that way. I'll hand it over to you.
No, yeah, I just, he had a great season, and considering he's 45, 44, whatever, he played like a top 3 quarterback in the league, and
he's the runner-up MVP.
Yeah, he was exceptional. And I think, Tom Brady, like you said, he is the greatest athlete in American sports. I think in terms of dominance, I don't think there's been anything else like it, relative to the sport. Like, I know Bill Russell had 11 rings, but 8 of them were phony,
Plus, for some reason in basketball, we don't give old heads credit, but in football, it's like, whatever. I don't know. Something about it.
Because football, I feel like right now there is a shift in play style for quarterbacks, but
going more offensive.
It's more offensive, but it's mainly the same, since history. And there's no advantage that other players had or other teams had, like Will Chamberlain, he was like, the competition at the time was awful, I think the competition back then would be just as good now, They, like Barry Sanders back then would be as good as he is now. All right, he would be good as he would be just as good as he was back then if he was playing
I think that's a fair point. He might even get better. I mean, the athletes are bigger, but the rules have changed,
Yeah. And I just think football, like, most people like there's not that much of a difference in skill set, compared to basketball.
More raw physicality, whereas basketball, there's skills and refs. Like I know old heads love to say like, oh, our generation was so physical, and it was, but it's not like football. You have to be physical. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think relative to his sport, I just think Tom Brady he's different now. He has more rings than any other franchise in history, and obviously
the fact he left the Patriots and got that accolade makes me so happy, because it would have been 7-7, but
yeah, man. And he has 7 rings, more than any other franchise in history.
12 Super Bowls? I think so.
Might have been 12.
I'll look it up, but keep going.
But he's a born winner, he's the greatest player of all time. I don't know what else to say. The way he carries himself, his leadership, the way he prepares himself every single game, how sustainable his game is. Even at this age, he's still able to be an elite quarterback. I just don't think there's another player like Brady. I don't think there ever will be.
I agree with you on that for sure. He's just, I think he's going to be the GOAT for a long time, if not ever. But I'm really sad that he retired, and I'll tell you why. I watched Peyton retire, and Peyton's my favorite athlete of all time, but he wasn't good his last year. He was old. He had neck surgery, and he won a Super Bowl and was able to retire. And I'm like, you're done. Now you can go home.
Yeah.
I don't think Brady's ready for that. And what I mean is, let's put it this way: 22 NFL seasons playing at the highest level, 4 years of college, 4 years of high school. That's 30 years without having a season off of straight football, like straight football. And he's retiring at the top of his game. He almost won MVP. It feels premature to me. Like, I know he has things to do, but I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to sit home and he's going to watch these guys and be like, I would have made that throw. Like, oh, if I was there, I would win the championship. And I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for him.
I think for Brady, it's just time to hang up the shoes, man. I think it's good that he's retired now. He didn't win the Super Bowl, but he's ending up on top. And I think, if he was to play, I do think he'd regress a little bit next year,
Maybe. Maybe. We really don't know that.
Yeah, no, that's true. But like typically quarterbacks, like even Peyton, he's a top, he's probably the second greatest quarterback of all time.
Thank you. I was worried you were going to say like top 5 or something.
Okay. Yeah, he's in the top 5 for sure. I don't exactly know where he ranks, but
you said it right. Top 2.
Yeah, it's probably 2. I don't know why. Like people are like Joe Montana or
No, I think we're gonna have some younger guys pop in there because I don't know. I know people they like Montana, Favre, who leads.
Oh yeah, Favre. I'm sorry, Favre is not there.
I just don't think you can throw that many picks. Who we missing? And Marino, but
oh yeah, Marino.
He didn't get the ring, so.
Yeah,
I think it's clear, but
I think Brady. Yeah, I think it's time to hang up the shoes for him. Go spend time with the family. Your kids are old now. They're like 10. He deserves to rest. And I think it's a good time to do it. Like I think it's the perfect time for it right now. He almost pulled off a comeback, like a crazy comeback, but
how great is it? His last pass was a 60-yard dot over Ramsey to Mike Evans. Like, wow, that's a great way to end your career.
Yeah, man.
And I love like his stories. Like I was reading about his relationship with Belichick, in their 20 years together. They never went to dinner once or hung out outside of the sports facility. And you know what? I think that's okay. I think that it's okay sometimes to be with your mentor and not have like a friendly relationship. I think that's why they don't like each other and why Brady didn't say anything about the Patriots when he retired. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'm really happy. I think I'll always remember him for going to Tampa because people were like, oh, Belichick this, Belichick that. And he's like, all right, I'm going to win during COVID. And that was crazy.
No,
so,
yeah. Yeah, and he was first year back. And that Tampa Bay Bucks team wasn't in rhythm for most of the year. They were struggling for about until like 9 weeks in, and I don't think anyone had them winning the Super Bowl that year.
No, people had them bouncing in the wild card. And no, one of my favorite stories from that season too was Brady going to the park illegally during the quarantine mandate to throw balls to Mike Evans and Godwin. Like, how Brady is that? I just love it.
He's just born for the sport, And what I think people don't realize is, like, Brady is the ultimate winner. Talent doesn't necessarily mean winning. I think Patrick Mahomes is probably the most talented quarterback of all time, but like, he just doesn't know how to win. Like, I know he won a Super Bowl and he's always at the AFC Championship, but he never trusts his teammates. He never knows when to, step off the gas pedal. Brady knows all that,
The other person, my favorite quarterback, so I'm gonna flame him, but is Rodgers. I think Rodgers doesn't develop relationships and trust and preparation the way Brady does. Like, that's really what sets them apart.
Right. Yeah, Rodgers.
I love when a quarterback makes a mistake. I remember Stafford did it in the last game. Cooper Kupp dropped a pass. He threw it right back to him for a first down. I love that. But Rodgers, like, you drop a pass, that's it.
Yeah, it showed. I mean, against the Niners, he threw to no one but Devontae Adams. If Devontae Adams wasn't open, he just took the sack.
He wanted no part of it. It was really interesting.
Yeah, it's Rodgers' mentality that's always held him back. But
I think so. But I think if he gets a fresh start with some beautiful receivers in the Mile High City with a phenomenal kicker and the third-ranked Pro Football Focus defense, I think he'll be okay. No bias whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him is he can't be the culture. I think Brady, he brings a culture to him.
That's a really good point.
Rodgers needs a culture around him built, and the Packers don't really have that for him because their organization is very conservative. They never go for it.
Don't you think
how
Rodgers
big would have been if they, like, when you have Odell Beckham Jr. on the market, how do you not go all in for that? And Odell Beckham Jr. was really leaning towards the Packers before the Rams, and they blew it.
I think that is why Rodgers is going to leave. I don't think he fits their culture. And like you said, when Favre was retiring, Favre got mad and was like, why are you signing this Rodgers kid and putting him under me when I need weapons? And, he left. So Rodgers didn't play for 3 years. He watched Favre. And I think they started to do the same thing with Jordan Love, and Rodgers did the same thing. He's like, I want weapons. But they're very conservative in how they run their team. So
I don't like the Packers run.
We can get there with our next topic, actually. But to leave it off, Brady's the GOAT. We love him.
Right.
Tom, if you're listening, one day maybe.
Oh yeah, Tom.
Love you. Have fun.
Tom, I hate you because you've been winning so much, but at the end of the day, I love you, bro.
No, you're my mom's favorite player. I'm just kidding. All right, so we'll move into the next topic. Let's talk about the coaching hires to finish this off. We have a lot of them. And to start with Denver, the first coaching hire, Denver Broncos signed Nathaniel Hackett. I can say I personally was so happy when I saw this because I know what that means. First of all, I think he's the best candidate out there. You think about what he did in Jacksonville. This guy made who is it? Blake Bortles?
Blake Bortles.
He made Blake Bortles get to an AFC Championship game. Like, let that sink in. With a not very good roster. Like, their defense was okay. And he was the play caller there. And he was at the Bills before. And he was with Tyrod Taylor at the time. He helped mature Tyrod Taylor. Phenomenal work there. And, he doesn't call the plays, but LaFleur and Rodgers loved him, and they were very adamant about it. They said that he was a huge part of their offensive scheme and how they run the team.
Right.
And I'm sorry, not to be insensitive to the other offensive coordinators, but he was the best guy out there. I think Denver knew it. They were blown away. They snagged him right when they could. And we also know that Rodgers did say a year or so ago that he would love to follow Hackett, and that's big for me. We know Denver has $48 million cap space. They're looking for a quarterback, and I think Hackett is the perfect guy to change the culture and attract a new QB. Anyways, I'll hand it off to you there.
Yeah, man. Denver for the past, was Vic Fangio their coach for how long?
3 years.
he's like a defensive-minded dude, right?
Yes, he's a great coordinator. He's going to get a job for sure.
Yeah, I just the future is offense. Great offense always be great.
7 defense for 3 years and no winning record.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is because like they're holding on to like the Super Bowl, like defense can win championships, but that's an outlier year. I think you can't win without a good quarterback. So I just think Denver's taking the right direction here. I think part of their defensive hirings was because of the Super Bowl. I know last week I was talking about how like you can win with a below average QB, but the chances of that are just really unlikely. I think the year that Peyton won and Von Miller won the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP, it's that's an outlier year. It's not supposed to happen usually, and I think they realize, man, I got all these weapons. We're looking for a quarterback. We're in an attractive spot for them. Let's just go more modern, go with an offensive coach. And what's even better is I think this ups the chances of Rodgers coming to the Broncos,
Yeah, really interesting. I'd love to talk about Rodgers a bit because I can't get enough of the story because I've been calling it for a year and a half. And if this happens, I'll be so happy. But I heard on, I think it was the Pat McAfee show because Rodgers loves to go on there. But he was talking about Devontae, and he said, my decision is really close. Devontae knows where I stand. He's like, I'm going to publicly make my decision before, I'm paraphrasing, publicly make my decision before the, free agency, which is in 20 days or so. He's like, so everyone will know where I am. And he's like, and it wouldn't be fair to guys like Devontae. So he's like, I have talked to Devontae. He knows where I stand. And my decision is very close to being made.
Right.
What do you think that decision is?
Oh, he said this like recently?
Yeah, like less than a week ago.
Dang, I'm assuming he's gonna leave, to be honest, because like at this point when your special teams blows it for you, like you're about to leave. And I think considering everything that's happened to him in the past, lack of receivers, lack of defense, although their defense was good this year. Yeah, I just think he's just destined to leave at this point,
Also, from what I understand, Rodgers is, I guess Denver is the destination that would be the only other competitor money-wise, and I don't think the market will be big, so I don't think Denver has to give up too much. What's interesting is Devontae, though, because he could get tagged. But regardless of that, yeah. I do think Rodgers will end up a Bronco within the next 2 weeks. I think it would be phenomenal for his career because I just think right now he's almost in a rut, and I think he needs to go out and prove himself. And yes, the Packers, the NFC is getting weak, especially with Brady retiring. There's a huge hole. But if you come to Denver and you battle it out with Mahomes, Derek Carr, and Herbert, and you're successful, then you start to that'll up your scale a lot. And I think what he really needs is for people to acknowledge his greatness because he's getting flamed right now. So yeah. I think it's a great move. You're going to have the weapons you want. You get a coach who loves you. I think Javonte is on the verge of breaking out. Second-year running backs always break out. For fantasy listeners, remember I said that.
Oh, yeah. Javonte is going to have a great year.
And the defense, like I said, was number 3 last year. Or number 3, you got young guys, Surtain, Chubb. I think it's a great location. I see him there next year.
No doubt.
Anyways, we can move on to the next big coaching hire in order was Dable for the Giants, Ryan Dable. What do you think of the hire?
The first good move in 7 years.
Also, their GM, the Bills' assistant GM, went over, and Dable got hired as the offensive coordinator from the Bills. So they both came over.
Yeah, first good move in years. I think Brian Dable was a lot of. I think the Bills' offense is it's not really dependent on the scheme. It's just dependent on Josh Allen, please carry us, But I don't know. I just think, you have a guy who did grow Josh Allen into the player that he is, And I do see some of that in Daniel Jones. He's big. He can run. He doesn't quite have the arm. But to be honest, like Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes.
He's not. I don't think he's staying past this year.
I know there's a lot of questions about him, but to me, I just don't think he's had a fair chance yet. He's had 2 coaches. Saquon's been out. O-line's, I think, worst according to PFF. The Giants they've just been incompetent. Joe Judge's ridiculous comments doesn't help. I just think he needs a fair shot, and I think this year he might look a lot better than he did in the past. And I think a lot of that will do with, Brian Daboll. And I just think that's just the right hire,
Yes. I forget the GM's name, the one they hired from the Bills, but he said it right when he got here. He said Daniel Jones has not had a fair shot. And I think you hit it on the head. I think Daniel Jones gets one more year. I don't think the Giants are trading for Russ. I don't think it's a good move for Russ either, because
I don't think Russ wants to go to if I'm a quarterback, why would I go to the Giants?
I see the appeal to the NFC, but the Giants are an all-out rebuild, as they should. New GM, new coach.
Yeah, and how does the Giants situation how is this Giants situation better than the Seahawks situation?
It's not, but you walk into a rebuild, which I don't think he wants, in a bad division. But I'm with you. I don't think it's happening. But I love this hire. I really do. He was the play caller for the Bills. And remember, McDermott's a defensive coach. So Daboll has a lot of power over the offense. And I think this was the second best hire that I looked at over this week.
Yeah.
I love it. I think he's going to do big things there. But if I'm the Giants, I'm moving everything. I think they want to keep Saquon, but I would get rid of every single player except for Tony and their left tackle, Andrew Thomas. I think rebuild this team, hold Daniel Jones, because I don't think he's it. Maybe he gets better, but I think
I don't know though. The thing is, quarterback is coaching, and Josh Allen was awful his rookie year,
but he's had 3 years now.
That's true. But I think Allen's situation is just so much better than Daniel Jones, and I just think
definitely
there is a slim chance. I still think there's a slim chance. There is a chance out there that Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, and
I think he has Jimmy upside. I don't think he goes much higher, but
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I mean that's even a push for me.
I don't know. I just think he's like a top 3 running QB, in my opinion, in the league.
Yeah, but he's not a running QB who takes hits, which is kind of the problem.
I guess.
He'd be closer to a let me think. I don't want to say Lamar or Kyler, because he's not. He's fast. Okay. He's straight line speed. But
he's not straight line speed. He's like Josh Allen, but I don't think he's quite as big as Josh Allen.
Exactly. So I think you can occasionally design a little run play for him. But here's the thing: if you design run plays for him, you don't want him read optioning to the left, and let's say the linebacker sees it. You don't want him running into the linebacker. He's not going to initiate contact. I don't know.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see how they work him, but I think he's a 1-year rental. I think they draft a QB a year from now. That's my gut.
Maybe. It depends. I do think it's unfair, but I think he is on a tightrope right now, Daniel Jones. But I do think this gives him a chance to be good, though. So I do like the hire a lot. So
I do too. I think it's a great move. The Giants have always been defensive and very
all these defensive coaches outside of Sean McDermott have been awful.
It's a new trend. Look at the guys now. So great hire. Love it, Giants. Hopefully they keep moving in this direction. Anyways, we'll briefly touch on the other coaches. So the next hire was Eberflus for the Bears. From what I've heard, they love him. Guys around the league love him. I've listened to a lot of reporters. They love him. I don't like this move at all, just for the sheer fact it's defensive. I just think you're the Bears. You've never had a good QB in the history of your league, and that's your culture. But eventually you got to grow up. You can't. Yeah. You got Justin Fields there. You got to nail this offensive coordinator hire. And I don't know who's left, because I don't like this at all.
I think they want the Rams offensive coordinator.
Kevin O'Connell?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to get a head coaching job. He was a finalist for Denver, and there's still 5 jobs open.
Oh, okay.
And if you're Kevin O'Connell, why would you leave the Rams offensive coordinator job to go call plays for the Bears? I mean, maybe if you want to call plays.
I don't know. He doesn't have much of a role in the Rams offense compared to
McVay calls plays, right?
Yeah. McVay is mostly in charge. on offense. So
I don't know. I don't like this hire. I just don't like the defensive move with a young QB who really needs help.
Agreed. Justin Fields can be a special player, and he actually proved me wrong. Because I thought he was the worst quarterback prospect, out of this draft. But I think there's flashes of greatness here, and if you pair him up with great offensive minds, he can be a special player.
He needs an offensive mind.
Yeah, and hiring a defensive coach it's just like, dude, we're in 2022. Everything's offense now. Why are we prioritizing defense?
I would have liked
young quarterback. It's just kind of like, I don't know. And at the end of the day, like, we don't know how he will do because he's never had a head coaching job in his entire career. So I guess we should give him a shot too, but it's just logically, it's not the best move,
I agree. I think I would have loved to see O'Connell, actually. I think he would have been a good head coach.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me. Anyways, we can move on to the next big hire, which was Josh McDaniels. Yeah, we'll go to Josh. It was Josh McDaniels hired by the Raiders. What do you say? Sorry, you can go for it.
Sorry, what a hire. Come on, man. Why are we giving this guy another shot? Denver, it the best. Like, he's
awesome. You're against it.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels. Why are we giving this guy another shot? He's awful as a leader. His scheme is awful. And you should know because he was your coach for like 2-3 years. And, he was like notorious for being one of the worst head coaches in the league, I
hate this hire with a passion. I hate it.
Awful.
The media likes it. Like, a lot of people are like, I'm done with this Belichick train, this tree of Belichick, to be honest. People love these moves. And like, outside of, okay, let's think, Brian Flores was the last great one. But, you got Matt Patricia. The Giants had Joe Judge. Josh McDaniels going back. I think the Patriots aren't built for 2022. Like, I really don't think so. They're very structured. And I'm looking at the Raiders. You got to be thinking, so now you got Hackett in Denver. Staley's defensive, but you got Herbert.
Right.
And you got, who am I missing? Oh, the Chiefs and Andy Reid. I don't think this elevates you at all. I think it's a safe play, and it's not what Derek Carr needs. I think Derek Carr needed something big. I liked the Harbaugh idea, but I think he was set on Michigan. But I would have liked a splashy offensive coordinator like O'Connell, for example.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan either. And, considering how controversial this guy was in the past, just why are you even bothering with him? And the Belichick tree is very, like, it's also notorious. They never do well, and they're known to be assholes. I'm sorry I said that, but
they are. I mean,
it's because they try to bring this Patriots culture, and the thing is, like, no one is on board with it, and it just feels like the coaches are sort of entitled when they bring that sort of culture to their team.
It's just not the same. I'm not a fan of the Belichick tree.
I'm not either, and I just don't like this hire either.
And we look at the coaches who are just on top right now. Like, I'll even put Tomlin in there. He's defensive, and McDermott, Tomlin, Reed, LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, McVay. These guys are close with their personnel. There's like this phrase I love when you walk into a room. There's coaches who light up the room, and then there's coaches who light up the room when they leave. I think Belichick and people from the tree light up the room when they leave. I thought Fangio for Denver was the same way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like these coaches who are like one with the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that would have been the right move for the Raiders. I don't like this hire.
Yeah. And, considering the culture stuff, just hire who was the dude who was taking over from John Gruden this year? I forgot his name.
The intern coach.
Yeah. Just
that
guy in. I forgot his name, but just take that guy in.
That would have been interesting. And then just last touch basis, Dan Quinn staying. I think it's an interesting move, but I don't think Dan Quinn liked the teams who needed a coaching job. And I think he understands people are going offensive, especially with what we thought Brian Flores was on the market.
Right.
So I think it's a good decision to stay. I think he likes his group.
Oh, just stick with it. Dan Quinn's a good coordinator.
I think so.
I just don't think he's a great culture guy. So head coaching is a little too much for him, I feel like.
He'll get a job eventually. I think it's smart to stay though.
Yeah, for now, just stay where you're at. Cowboys defense was pretty good. I do think it was very overrated considering they played the NFC East this year. But
they got some talent for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyways, we'll end it with that. Thank you guys for listening to our podcast. Today we went over some great football stuff. Next week we'll start to get into some basketball, which I think is going to be really interesting. Yeah. And Alex will be joining us after this week once again. So thank you guys for listening. Any last words?
No, I know you guys have been waiting for basketball too. So just hold on another week and we'll have some great basketball talks next week for sure.
Oh man. All right. Thank you guys for listening and we'll see you next week.
All right.